Shalom. All praises to Yahweh Bahashem, Yahweh Shai Bahashem Rakakodash. Double honors to the elder apostles, the bishops, and the elders of GMS who rules well. Peace and salutations to the elect. My name is Aina. The title of this video is "The Time is Short." Right, and ultimate, I thought about that title regarding this information I'm about to share with you in this video. But that led me to the scripture here, 1 Corinthians 7:29 says, but this I say, brethren, the time is short. It remaineth that both they that have wives be as though they had none, and they that weep as though they wept not, and they that rejoice as though they rejoice not, and they that buy as though they possess not, and they that use this world as not abusing it, for the fashion of this world passeth away. Right, we're entering into evil days, right? Evil times. I'll grab a few precepts on that. Get Ephesians 5:15. It says, see then that you walk circumspectly, not as fools, but as wise, redeeming the time because the days are evil. All right, and we're in a time now where those evil days are here, and it's only getting worse. Ezekiel 7:5 says, thus saith the Lord Yahweh Bahashem Yahushai, and evil and only evil, behold, is come. An end is come, the end is come, it watches for thee, behold, it is come. Right? Once this place, shuts down, that's it, right? It's over. It'll just be over. Pretty much we have to wait for Amos 8:11. Because the energy is going to be a problem, food is going to be a problem. So at some point, once the energy crisis hit, eventually, we won't be able to pay for the internet, right? We won't be able to even work because we won't have gas to go to work, and jobs, or they won't have the money to run their businesses, things like that, right? It'll be a collapse. No one will be able to get gas or anything. So we'll just have to wait and see how things unfold. But once they hit, it'll be over pretty much. This is going back to the point where the time is short. Be though as thou has none, right? This is Second Ezra chapter 16, and 37 says, behold, the plagues draw nigh and are not slack, as when a woman with child in the ninth month bringeth forth her son, with 2 or 3 hours of her birth great pains compass her womb, which pains when the child cometh forth they slack not a moment. Even so shall not the plagues be slack to come upon the earth, and the world shall mourn, and sorrow shall come upon it on every side. O my people, hear my word. Make you ready to thy battle, and in those evils be even as pilgrims upon earth. Right, and pilgrims travel from one place to the next. Right, they're not holding on to anything. They're not saying, "Oh, this is my house. I love it with all my life. I don't want to leave it." They're not worried about the job, right, or whatever their favorite store they like to go to, or whatever the case may be. They understand. They're just moving around. They're just there for a short period of time, and they're moving on. So it goes on to say in verse 41, he that selleth, let him be as he that fleeth away, and he that buyeth as one that will lose. Right. So you own businesses and things like that. You're just enduring unto the end. You're occupying until the Lord returns. You're not putting your trust in your business and trying to have the American dream, or even saving up money to leave America and be better off somewhere else. You're trying to store heavens or treasures in heaven, right? For the new heaven and the new earth, right? That's to come, right? The kingdom of heaven. It says, he that occupieth merchandise as he that hath no profit by it, and he that buildeth as he that shall not dwell therein. He that soweth as if he should not reap. So also he that planteth the vineyard as he that shall not gather the grapes. They that marry as they that shall get no children, and they that marry not as the widowers. Okay. So it's going to come to a point in time where it goes on to say, and therefore they that labor in vain. So people that are, doing all of this thing, trying to store up and, build something here and things like that, all of that is about to be ransacked, ran through, because the world is about to shut down and people are going to be not sparing one another, going into the houses, wives, ravish, you ravish, your children ravish, everyone getting ravished, your animal, your pet, whatever the case may be. All your goods are going to be taken from you. Right? You're going to fight for the death. You may win some, and then eventually you will lose. You know, it says, verse 46, for strangers shall reap their fruits and spoil their goods, overthrow their houses, and take their children captive. For in captivity and famine shall they get children. So, basically, in the time of trouble, basically, so they can, probably have babies. I want to check this out in the NLT, see what it says in NLT. For the GNT. Oh, it's 16. So, Second Ezra chapter 16, verse 45 in the GNT says, anything that is done will be useless. Foreigners will harvest the crops, seize the wealth, tear down the houses, and carry off their children as slaves. Anyone who has children will bring them up to be slaves or die of starvation. So, yeah, so like I was saying, if you do have children, whatnot, it's going to be as a slave or just to die. If the Lord Yahweh Bashim Yahweh is not with you in this time, anyone who makes money will do so only to see it violently taken away. The more possessions people gather, the more they spend on their cities and houses, the more attention they give to their personal appearance. The more angry the Lord Yahweh Bashim Yahweh will become with them because of their sin. This is what the Lord says. All right, so basically in this time, people are vain, right? Lovers of themselves and things like that. And the Lord is upset with that, not measuring the time that you're in and whatnot. So I'm gonna play this video. You can check the video out if you want. I'm gonna play like the first minute or so and then jump to like 8 minutes and 30 seconds. But he's just talking about basically the buffer that's about to end here in America. That's why I say time is short, because we don't work with dates or anything like that. But we are measuring the time diligently in itself, right? And watching the prophecies as they unfold, right? Which our elder apostles, right, have been prophesying since the 1960s about these things to come. We have entered into the labors, and now we're in a time where everything that was talked about before is happening now, right? We're analyzing it, we're watching it, and we're warning the sheep. We're warning actually the whole world, because judgment is coming for everyone. So this is the guy's video here. I've seen this page once or twice. I'll keep checking and see if it's somebody I want to follow or not. It doesn't really matter, but good information in this video right here.
Okay, so we have to talk about oil and how it's about to affect the entire world, because I think we're being lied to.
Somebody shorted the oil market today by hundreds of millions of dollars exactly 20 minutes before Trump made his announcement that everything was going to be great. And if you see that once, it could be a coincidence. But that's happened at least 3 times, if not more, since the war began. That's a pattern.
The theory is that all of this back and forth about the strait is open, the strait is closed, well then it's open, and now it's closed again. It's actually really easy to explain. It's a way for insiders to manipulate the stock markets. Because last Friday, we were told the Strait of Hormuz was finally open, which is a huge reason why the price of paper oil went way down and the markets rallied to a new all-time high. Only to find out that over the weekend, that's not the case at all. and the strait is still very much closed. And maps are showing a lot of the ships were being routed back, and now no ships are allowed to pass. Now, there's also a lot of really weird things starting to happen as well. Like, for example, there seems to be a virus that's infecting the world.
So he said a lot of weird things. So that's Second Corinthians 2 and 11. We're not ignorant of Satan's devices. And he's about to say that there's a virus infecting the world where a lot of the pipelines and oil refineries and things like that all around the world are being blown to smithereens, basically. And what's coming is the collapse to bring in the New World Order, which ushers in the mark of the beast, right? The digital chip, the charagma, which goes into your body, right? Because it's a physical thing, which is the great testing, right, of the Lord Yahweh Bashem Yahushua, right? And we get Revelations 3 and 10, because this is the time, or 8. 10. So this is the time that we're entering into. I thought I was going to say, but this is a test, right? And it's fastly approaching. Revelations 3 and 10, it says, because thou hast kept the word of my patience, I will also keep thee from the hour of temptation, right? And that's the scriptures, right? We're rehearsing the righteous act. We're turning back to who we are, right? We're applying the laws, the statutes, and the commandments, though we know that those don't save us. It's faith that's going to keep us. And especially, you have to be of the elect, right, to receive the salvation, of the Lord Yahushua when he returns and beam us up into the chariots. It says, because thou hast kept the word of my patience, I will also keep thee from the hour of temptation, which goes into a trial, right? And that trial is about to start, right, which goes into Jacob's trouble, which I have those precepts here, right, where all hell is breaking loose, and you have to choose between having faith and trusting in Yahweh Bashem Yahushua, or not having faith and trusting in your enemies. It says, because thou hast kept the word of my patience, I will also keep thee from the hour of temptation, which shall come upon all the world to try them that dwell upon the earth. So it's coming upon the whole world to try them that dwell upon the earth. Behold, I come quickly. Hold that fast which thou hast, that no man take thy crown, right? Because we have a crown stored up in heaven, the elect. All right, and we're trying to keep that, so we're gonna hold fast what we know. That's why the scriptures say, wisdom and knowledge shall be the stability of thy times, right? Let me grab it. Isaiah 33 and 6, it says, and wisdom and knowledge shall be the stability of thy times, and strength of salvation, the fear of the Lord Yahweh Bashem Yahushua treasure. Okay. So we're not ignorant of Satan's devices, as 2 Corinthians 2 and 11 says.
World's gas infrastructure. There are now dozens and dozens of energy pipelines that have caught fire or accidentally exploded. And this dates all the way back from March of this year, and it's happening all across the world. And because all of this flow...
Yeah, so we know exactly what's happening. You just get it from here. There's no particular point. He said something later on from 8:34, but I get from 8:30. Like I said, you can check the video out.
2.8 million barrels against a whole of 8 to 13 million, which means reserves will eventually run out and there will be a shortage. So then, when is the world going to start feeling the effect of this missing oil? And according to the best research I was able to find, most likely sometime in mid to late April is when those global oil supplies run out. We are in mid-April right now. So the next question is, which countries are going to start to feel the effects of all of this first? Okay, so the effect of this whole blockade is already happening to the rest of the world right now. And the tsunami's coming, but it's affecting certain countries more than others. Asia, for example, got hit first and the hardest. Deliveries to Asia basically stopped on April 1st. And Asia sources roughly 80% of its oil from the Persian Gulf. What's getting through right now is only about 6% of pre-war volumes. Now, the Philippines was also one of the first countries to declare their national emergency after their gas prices more than doubled almost overnight. Indonesia and Vietnam told people to work from home to conserve fuel. In Thailand, their fishing industry, which is about 1% of their whole economy, is shutting down because marine fuel costs went up by 250%. In Japan, bus and ferry services are slowing down because of fuel shortages. In India, the government stopped LPG supplies for commercial use to protect household cooking fuel. In Mumbai, roughly 20% of hotels and restaurants had already been shut down by early March. In Africa, last deliveries to Africa stopped on April 10th. Countries like Ethiopia, Zimbabwe, South Sudan, they're now literally diluting their petrol. They're mixing it with other chemicals to stretch what's left. And they're also restricting electricity. Australia's last fuel shipment is expected to arrive April 19th. They've already released their national reserves, they've cut fuel taxes, and they put together a national security plan. And then there's Europe. Their deliveries stopped around April 10th as well.
And Trump just did that also. Let me see if I got that right here. I don't want to do it right here. Regarding the national, security situation problem. Here we go. So Trump just did this, having a national emergency, and it was around energy, also.
This is big breaking news. President Trump has just signed an executive order, and he is now invoking the Defense Production Act, wartime powers, and a national emergency. This is what President Trump just announced for today, and he is issuing warnings that our power grid and our energy infrastructure is at risk. So let's get into all the details here. You guys can see Trump actually signed 5 different executive orders today. All right, so you guys can see this just came out today, April 20th, 2026. It says presidential determination pursuant to Section 303 of the Defense Production Act, which is a Wartime Power Act of 1950, as amended on grid infrastructure, equipment, and supply chain capacity. All right, so he signed an executive order for grid infrastructure, equipment, and supply chain capacity. He signed another one for coal supply chains and baseload power generation capacity. He signed another one today for domestic petroleum production, refining, and logistics capacity. He signed another one as well for natural gas transmission, processing, storage, and liquefied natural gas capacity. And also the last one here for development, manufacturing, and deployment of large-scale energy and energy-related infrastructure. All right, so this is huge. This is a major warning sign. The language in these executive orders is saying that our grid is crumbling and our grid is in trouble, and it's a national security issue. It's a national defense issue, and he's even invoking a national emergency. All right. We also have this as well too. The Pentagon wants General Motors and Ford to build weapons and bombs. Here's what happened last time during World War II. All right. So we have General.
So the world is shutting down as the world is getting ready for war, as they fight, for resources. And shoot, all of this is for, the time to come. This is which is Jacob's trouble, right? But really it's the world's trouble. Jeremiah 30:6 says, ask ye now and see whether a man doeth travail with child. Wherefore do I see every man with his hands on his loins as a woman in travail, and all faces are turned into paleness. Alas, for that day is great, so that none is like it. It is even the time of Jacob's trouble, but he shall be saved out of it. Now the he is going into the elect, right? Those of us seeking Yahweh B'Hashem Yahushua while he may be found, right? That time is now. That's why I said the time is short. Daniel 12:1, it says, and at that time shall Michael stand up, the great prince, which is the archangel Michael. So during this time, the archangel Michael is going to pull up, and stand for us, help us. And at that time shall Michael stand up, the great prince, which standeth for the children of thy people. And there shall be a time of trouble such as never was since there was a nation, even to that same time. And at that time, thy people shall be delivered, everyone that shall be found written in the book, right? So that's the elect, right? Everyone else, 2/3 of our people have to, be destroyed. Zechariah 13. And it says, and it shall come to pass that in all the land, saith the Lord Yahweh Bashkim Shai, 2 parts therein shall be cut off and die, but the third shall be left therein. And I will bring the third part through the fire, and will refine them as silver is refined, and will try them as gold is tried. And they shall call on my name, Yahweh Bashkim Shai, and I will hear them. I will say, it is my people, and they shall say, the Lord Yahweh Bashkim Shai is my power, right? The Lord Yahweh is his name. His son name is Yahushai. Bahashem is in the name, right? So
which is why they're doing everything in their power to reduce demand.
How can we reduce the demand?
Shipment is expected to arrive April 9th. Deliveries to Africa stopped on April 10th. Countries like Ethiopia, Zimbabwe, South Sudan, they're now literally diluting their petrol. They're mixing it with other chemicals to stretch what's left. And they're also restricting electricity. Australia's last fuel shipment is expected to arrive April 19th. They've already released their national reserves, they've cut fuel taxes, and they put together a national security plan. And then there's Europe. Their deliveries stopped around April 10th as well, which is why they're doing everything in their power to reduce demand.
How can we reduce the demand? Because, of course, the least expensive energy is the energy that is not used.
So that's not looking good. The dominoes are starting to fall. But what about the United States? JP Morgan says we're basically the last in line to be affected, with most deliveries expected to have stopped on April 15th. The final crude cargoes reached Texas on April 1st and California on April 8th, which means the buffer that's been protecting us from feeling this at the gas pump, that buffer's gone. So the question is, how many more weeks of this can we expect before oil prices react and we actually start to feel it?
all right, so I might play a little bit more because he goes on to say that someone is okay. So he says it right. He says it right here. So I'm gonna read this and I'm gonna play some more of that. Right, and this is fair use, for whatever it's worth. I'm not making any money off of this video. This is purely for edification purposes, right? So this is 2nd Ezra chapter 15:14. Woe to the world, and them that dwell therein, for the sword in their destruction draweth nigh, and one people shall stand up and fight against another, and swords in their hands, for there shall be sedition among men, and invading one another, they shall not regard. So it's drawing nigh. The time is short, right? And what we can see now, what is going to cause this? Why would people fight one another and swords in their hands? Why would there be sedition against the government? Why would people invade one another? Because of the collapse. No food, no energy. It says, for there shall be sedition among men and invading one another. They shall not regard their kings and their princes, your presidents, your governors, or, your mayors and things like that. Even the elite class individuals like that, the health people, health insurance and things like that, right? And the people don't care about who you are. They're just upset and mad. It says, in the course of their power, in the course of their actions shall set in power. So they're going to do it. Basically, they have the ability to come against these kings and princes. That's why you have your government officials housing on military bases. We already had multiple news reports of people sneaking onto the White House lawn, getting shot, people sneaking onto Mar-a-Lago, people shooting at different military personnel, shooting at the vice president house, different governors and houses getting burned with fires, all type of things has been happening. It says, a man shall desire to go into the city and shall not be able, for because of their pride, the city shall be troubled, the houses shall be destroyed, and men shall be afraid. So now I'm going to play the video, because what he's about to say is that someone is holding, 2 Corinthians 2:11. We're not ignorant of Satan's devices. Someone is holding the prices of the paper dollar where it's at. And then what it seems is going to happen is that once that hold is broken, it's going to be like a switch flipped, immediate price fix. And one day it's like at $5 or something right now. It's going to be at $15 the next day. You know, is what it seemed like. Well, I don't know. It's going to be bad as hell though. You know, whatever happens.
JP Morgan puts a specific date on when this will happen. The last tanker to clear Hormuz before the closure was February 28th. That ship is expected to reach its final destination around April 20th. That is the moment JP Morgan says pre-closure barrels are fully used up from the global supply chain, and after that, there's no more buffer. And what that means is the physical price and the paper price will have to converge. Now hold on. If all of this is already happening, why is the paper price of oil still pretty low, especially after we learned that ceasefire talks failed? Oil prices should have gone up, right? But they went down. And the best theory that explains this suggests that someone placed huge bets that oil prices would fall around the ceasefire announcement. In fact, they're doing an investigation into it. Those are called short positions. Now remember, a short position in oil futures means that eventually, when that contract expires, you either close it out or you have to actually deliver physical oil. And the theory is that the ceasefire may have been partially engineered to give whoever placed those shorts one last window to exit their positions before the physical reality makes the paper price really impossible to hold. And Chris Martenson, who I cited earlier in this video, made a prediction about this. He said whoever it is that's dumping paper oil futures cannot actually deliver the oil when the time comes. And maybe they don't have any intention of delivering it.
Right now, the oil price is being heavily contained and capped by someone. Everybody knows that it's the United States government somehow, either directly or through proxies, has been actively suppressing the price of oil, which they can only do for about another week here before it starts to really blow up on them, figuratively speaking.
What that means is someone is selling promises of oil at $100 a barrel, knowing they will never actually produce said oil. They're using the paper market as a psychological tool to calm the market down. But when those contracts come due, when the buyer says, okay, where's my oil? There will be a forced buying event. The entity that sold those contracts will have to buy them back at whatever the market price is at that moment. So if physical oil is at 130 or 140 or whatever it is, that's what they'll pay. That will be a short squeeze. And it's one of the mechanisms that can cause the paper price to catch up to the physical price very, very fast. Now, the next question.
So you see, he said it very, very fast. So that can happen immediately. You know, I don't know how, Zycar works, but it's going to be bad. Matthew 24, 42, it says, watch therefore, for ye know not what hour your Lord Yahweh Bashmi Awashad doeth come. Right, and this is Yahweh Shad. All right, capital L, lowercase O-R-D. It says, but know this, that if the good man of the house had known in what watch the thief would come, he will have watched and will not have suffered his house be broken up. Therefore be ye also ready, for in such an hour as ye think not, the Son of Man cometh. Right, but we're watching with the prophets and we know, but a lot of people, just like other brothers have been mentioning, don't know. They're not aware of what's happening around them, right? They don't even know the street is closed. And I mean, look at it, because they're, whatever he says, shortening the price, where the price is not really basically, where we're living in right now is a bubble. This is a simulation of what's not really happening yet. The true cost of oil at the gas station, even for, the airplanes and the public transit and things like that. In Isaiah 60:1, it says, arise, shine, for thy light is come, and the glory of the Lord Yahweh Bashmi Awashah is risen upon thee. For behold, darkness shall cover the earth, and gross darkness the people. But the Lord Yahweh Bashmi Awashah shall arise upon thee, and his glory shall be seen upon thee. Right, so we, the hopeful elect, the watchers, the prophets, the men of the Lord, right, we have the understanding, right? We know exactly what's going on, right? But a lot of people don't. All right. So when that bubble pops, it's going to be bad, and that we're just living in that bubble. This is Second Ezra 15 and 18. And so, Second Ezra chapter 15, verse 18, it says, "For because of their pride, the city shall be troubled, the houses shall be destroyed, and men shall be afraid. And man shall have no pity upon his neighbor, but shall destroy their houses with the sword and spoil their goods because of the lack of bread and for great tribulation." And ultimately that the video that guy he goes into it, how also food prices are going to increase in the situation with the fertilizer that they've been talking about. Verse 20 says, "Behold, saith Yahweh, Bashim Yahushai, I will call together all the kings of the earth to reverence me, which are from the rising of the sun, from the south, from the east, and Lebanon, to turn themselves one against another and repay the things that they have done to them." And what I want to point out is basically Matthew 12, because we've seen that even Iran at one point says the Strait was open when it really wasn't. And that goes into the whole situation regarding the up and down prices, so they're divided, but they're working together, because what you have behind the scenes is the bankers, the banking elites in their different areas around the world telling, each one of their little puppets what to do, right? Because these banking elites have no allegiance to nobody. They want to control the whole world. They don't really care, and they're the ones manipulating, I feel, the markets. They have the money and the power to do so. Matthew 12 and 25 says, "And Yahushua knew their thoughts and said unto them, every kingdom divided against itself is brought to desolation, and every city or house divided against itself shall not stand. And the saying cast out saying, he is divided against himself, how shall then his kingdom stand?" All right. And, recently with the Epstein's file, I seen something in there where he was talking about one of the Rothschilds basically being put under the bus. So even these top banking elites are divided, on how they're going to split and run the world, and these nations are divided. And the Most High Yahweh, Bashim Yahushua, is going to turn them against each other, right? Behold, Second Ezra chapter 15, verse 20, make sure it's still good. Says, "Behold, said Yahweh, Bashim Yahushua, I will call together all the kings of the earth to reverence me, which are from the rising of the sun, from the south, from the east, and Lebanon, to turn themselves one against another and repay the things that they have done to them. Like as they do yet this day unto my chosen, so will I do also, and recompense in their bosom, saith the Lord Yahweh, Bashim Yahushua." Right, so this is against the nation. This is a snare and a trap for America, but also for the world, right? Because the world is about to feel what's happening, right? And it says that he shall be saved out of it, which goes into the elect, right? Isaiah 65 and 13, start at 11. Isaiah 65 and 11, it says, "But ye," this is the 2/3, it says, "But ye are they that forsake the Lord, Yahweh, Bashim Yahushai, that forget my holy mountain, that prepare a table for that troop, and that furnace the drink offering unto that number," right? Basically trusting in the wicked, trusting in idols. It says, "Therefore will I number you to the sword, and ye shall all bow down to the slaughter, because when I called, ye did not answer, when I spake, ye did not hear, but did evil before mine eyes, and did choose that wherein I delighted not." Right, so you have the choice, right, to hearken unto Yahweh Bashman Shai when he speaks to you by the mouth of his prophets, as Luke 1:70 says. It says, Isaiah 65 and 13, "Therefore thus saith the Lord Yahweh Bashman Shai, behold, my servant shall eat, but ye shall be hungry. Behold, my servant shall drink, but ye shall be thirsty. Behold, my servant shall rejoice, but ye shall be ashamed. Behold, my servant shall sing for joy of heart, but ye shall cry for sorrow of heart, and shall howl for vexation of spirit." All right, so that's the coming time that we're about to enter into, and right, and all that's why the older Apostle Har says, It's not only Jacob's trouble, it's the world's trouble because everyone's going to feel it. Gave you Revelations chapter 3, verse 10, where it says, it shall come upon the whole world. Isaiah 34 and 1 says, come near, ye nations, to hear and hearken, ye people. Let the earth hear and all that is therein, the world and all things that come forth of it. For the indignation of the Lord Yahweh, Bahashim Yahushua, is upon all nations, and his fury upon all their armies. He hath utterly destroyed them. He hath delivered them to the slaughter. So ultimately, this has already been fulfilled, right? It's going to happen. We're just letting it play out now because this was written way back when, right? When Isaiah wrote this, all right? It says, their slain also shall be cast out, and their stain shall come up out of their carcasses, and the mountains shall be melted with their blood, and all the hosts of heaven shall be dissolved, and the heavens shall be rolled together as a scroll, talking about your nuclear missiles, and all their hosts shall fall down as the leaf falleth off from the vine, and as a falling fig from a fig tree. For my sword shall be bathed in heaven. Behold, it shall come down upon Idumea, the Edomites, right, and upon the people of my cursed judgment. Because ultimately the nuclear missiles will hit Babylon, America, right, and also the land of Israel. It says, the sword of the Lord Yahweh Bashmi Yahushua is filled with blood. It is made fat with fatness, and with the blood of lambs and goats, with the fat of the kittens of rams. For the Lord Yahweh Bashmi Yahushua have a sacrifice in Basra, and a great slaughter in the land of Idumea, which is currently America, right, Babylon the Great. It says, and the unicorn shall come down with them, and the bullocks with the bulls, and their land shall be soaked with blood, and their dust made fatness. For it is the day of the Lord's vengeance, right? The Lord being Yahweh, Bashim Yahushai, in the year of recompenses for the controversy of Zion, right? So it's all about Israel, right? All about who the Israelites are, right? All about what has been done to the Israelites, you know, who done it. And that's why Israel and America is going to be obliterated by nuclear weapons. You've seen that UN thing, which was a trap for them too. You know, everyone voted. Some people just ain't say nothing. You know, some people voted yes, but they said it was slavery, you know, one of the most atrocious thing that has ever happened. American Israel said nah. And the Most High, you know, basically took that, he took that personally, but he been took everything they did to us personally, okay? And he's coming to destroy them for the controversy of Zion, right? This is Baruch. Let me see. Let me start at Baruch 4 and 30. I'll start at Baruch 4 and 27. It says, be of good comfort, O my children, and cry unto Yahweh Bashim Yahushai, for ye shall be remembered of him that brought these things upon you. And that goes into the elect, right? In the time to come, the elect will be comforted while everyone else is miserable. For as it was your mind to go astray from Yahweh Bashim Yahushai, so being returned, seek him 10 times more. For he that have brought these plagues upon you shall bring you everlasting joy with your salvation. And that's because our kingdom is an everlasting kingdom. All right, and our salvation is the return of our Lord Yahushua to pick us up and get us the hell up out of here. All right, take a good heart, O Jerusalem, for he that gave thee that name will comfort thee. Miserable are they that afflicted thee, and rejoice at thy fall. Miserable are the cities which thy children serve. Miserable is she that received thy sons. For as she rejoiced at thy ruin, and was glad of thy fall, so shall she be grieved for her own desolation. All right. For I will take away the rejoicing of her great multitude, and her pride shall be turned into mourning. For fire shall come upon her from the everlasting, long to endure, and she shall be inhabited of devils for a great time. We're talking about America. O Jerusalem, look about thee toward the east, and behold the joy that cometh unto thee from Yahweh Bashim Yahushai. Lo, thy sons come, whom thou sentest away. They come gathered together from the east to the west by the word of the Holy One, right, which is Yahweh, rejoicing in the glory of Yahweh Bashim Yahushai. Right, so ultimately we're going to be picked up by Yahushai in the chariot. You know, we're going to be in there, and we're going to come back down. But ultimately, you know, our people, America and Israel is going to be destroyed along with our people too. The 2/3 that didn't want to listen. All right. So pretty much that's been it. Lord willing, you edify from the lesson. Shalom. 2, the hope of the elect, which consists of men, women, and children. Shalom.